So the basic question that everyone is responding to ultimately is it an advantage or a disadvantage? Is it beneficial or beneficial or not? Okay. So how do you answer that question? The way you're going to go about answering it, and there's a whole folder called Great Migration Project on here, has a number of primary sources and secondary sources, which I'm going to go into some detail on next time. It also has a copy of this handout there, and that's in the lab since I don't have mine. How you answer this question is really up to you. You should answer it based on the sources, not just on your opinion. You're making a case, you're making an argument based on the sources. So, of course, module 2 in Great Migration Project folder, you will see this handout should be first. Paper handout. One of the first things you're going to do is think about your main character. Everyone is going to Everyone is going to choose a main character that they use to talk about this topic, or really to answer this question of whether the Great Migration is negative or positive. Where do you get that main character from? Well, in some ways, we're talking about several possible main characters even in this class. Jack Johnson is a possible main character, right? It's somebody that's going to migrate, it's somebody that's going to find his fortune in the north. We're going to talk about Josephine Baker as a possible main character. She starts off in St. Louis, ends up in the north, and ultimately in Europe. You don't have to write your entire paper about this main character, but what this main character is going to do is to help you frame the argument, frame the discussion. So, looking at what they say, reasons why they say they migrate, why they say it's a positive or a negative thing, is going to help you talk about this bigger process of the Great Migration. So you're going to choose a main character. You'll see that listed here as main character. I'll say more about that next time. The first thing I listed on this handout is a series of themes. Now you want to think about why people are migrating. A number of people say specifically, look, I'm going north for better schools for my kids. I'm going north for better jobs, for these war jobs. I'm going north for safety reasons. Right, so this may help you answer whether it's a positive or a negative. Your answer to the question of whether it's positive or negative is part of your thesis statement. Right? You'll be telling me whether it's positive or negative and why you think that's the case. So these are some of the key themes that may come up. Here's the main character that you're going to start thinking about. We're still talking about main characters, or there might be another one that serves as the main character. The textbook chapter raises several possible main characters here. So be thinking about this possible main character. I say focus on a particular immigration stream. People go from Mississippi to Chicago, to Alabama to work, from Alabama to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania to work in steel mills. Folks are later going to go to LA, Texas. Folks come to DC, Baltimore. So I want you to think about what particular immigration stream either your main character follows or you think is a significant immigration stream. This is going to help you be more specific about this. New York, Chicago, DC, Baltimore, any of these cities may come up. These are just the main things you'll learn from this project. Don't worry about that. We'll talk about that a little bit next time. Then the next section of the handout is a little outline of how this paper is going to look. The introduction, thesis statement, body section, a conclusion. Right, your introduction is going to do some basic things. In part, we've already started thinking about that because your introduction is kind of like an identification. It covers the who, what, when, where part of this. Right? You have to tell me something about the Great Migration. Tell me something about your main character. Tell me something about the destination city and why people are coming there. Before you even get to your thesis, you have to kind of set that up. Your introduction will do that. Maybe your main character has a quote that helps you talk about your argument. It helps you decide what your thesis is going to be. So your introduction will do that. Your thesis tells why you believe what you believe, it's positive or negative, and how we're going to demonstrate it in this paper, just like we did before. The body section of the essay is going to tell me about your sources. We're going to talk a lot about sources next time, because I've given you a whole folder full of sources. You can probably write the entire paper based on what's on the Blackboard site in terms of primary and secondary sources. We'll talk about the differences between those next time. Primary sources are things like letters, diaries, that people that actually migrate wrote. Secondary sources are things like your textbook, that historians write later after the fact. You'll use both of them to try to answer this question. Your conclusion, we'll talk about the conclusion later. And then last time I already pointed out the list of deadlines and how we're kind of building to this project. This paper is due on the 14th, but in between we're doing various things that are building to that, including watching Unforgivable Blackness, working our way through chapter 14 and 15, which we have now done. The study guide I gave you is a multiple choice example on 14 and 15, and I have something else to give you, some short answer questions that you're ultimately going to answer on Jack Johnson. Your first assignment is to take a look at these questions that have to do with the Jack Johnson video. Finish watching the last half hour or so, part one, and answer these questions. Put the Dropbox up. It will be due last Tuesday. There are 5 questions. A chance to get 2 points. That's the first thing to do. The second thing we're doing is going to be this study guide in chapters 14 and 15. We haven't talked about Barbie yet. I want to do that Tuesday, so I'm not going to post that quiz until after Tuesday's class. First thing you're doing is working on Jack Johnson. Finish reading if you haven't done that, obviously. And then we'll do the multiple choice after Tuesday's class. That will set us up for the rest of the Great Migration project paper. Next class, we're going to talk specifically about some of the sources and go through this handout a little more specifically. We'll show you something on the Great Migration. We'll start talking about your arguments and talk about Marcus Garvey. Any questions about what we're doing, where we're going? That's a lot. Hold on to this handout. If you lose it, there's a copy on the Blackboard. It contains everything, including the specific deadlines and the specific aspects of the paper. Bring this back with you on Tuesday so we can discuss it in some more detail.